What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing another video on the Throne Serpent. If you guys saw our last video on this bike, we really enjoyed riding it. It was a pleasant surprise, had good handling, good speed, good range. And today we're going to talk about what aftermarket upgrades will fit on this bike from other brands and what we think will make the biggest difference for some small first upgrades. Before we get into that, I want to remind everybody we are giving away a brand new Talaria Sting MX5, so you guys need to click the link in the video description, go down and enter. All entries right now are 5 times. So you guys can pick up a shirt on our website and you can get over 2,500 entries, and there's a bunch of other ways to enter. So get entered, you might have a free MX5 delivered to your doorstep. Okay, let's get into some upgrades here. So what we have done the last couple days is test fit a bunch of parts to see what things are compatible with the Serpent. And the first thing we're gonna talk about is tires. This is pretty much the same OEM tires that come on like 95% of the e-motos. You've got a little bit larger tire here in the rear, a little bit narrower here in the front, and we've got 2 tire options for you. If you're gonna be doing off-road, we really recommend the Tusk ground wires. So these are front and rear specific. You can see that difference right there, super knobby. This is what we run on a lot of our bikes. It makes a massive difference to be able to handle the power that this bike has. And for the front, we've got this, which is a fairly similar tread pattern, but has bigger air volume, bigger knobs, more steering traction, and more comfort. So that's gonna be your off-road option. For your on-road, these are the Shinko 241. These are this 19 by 2.75 inch size. This is a tire that you run the same size front rear, and this is for the people that like to ride a lot of street and a lot of dirt. They're a really good dual sport combo. Next up, let's talk about foot pegs. So here we have the stock pegs. Like a lot of stock bikes, they are not very big, they don't have very good grip, and what we recommend are some Warp 9 upgraded foot pegs. You'll see those are much larger, much grippier, and these use Surron specific foot pegs. So any foot pegs that are specific for a Surron will work on this bike. And as you guys are wanting to outfit your Serpent, go to our website. There will be a link in the video description, tbelectricmoto.com, and we'll have a specific parts page for the Throne Serpent. So any parts on that you know will fit because we tried them. Let's move on up to the cockpit. So I really like that they already give you a direct mount stem. That's super nice. However, it is really low when you're a tall guy like me. You can see it's nice and short there. The bar does have some rise to it, but if you're a taller rider, you will like a higher setup. So a couple options you have. Something like this Warp 9 direct mount stem. You can either mount it without the riser, which would be very similar to what you have right there, or with the riser, which will be taller. So that comes with the package. That'll be a nice setup. And then you can also do a taller bar, just like this Warp 9 3-inch rise. So that's gonna raise you up even higher. Me personally, I would do both of these and I would go as high as I possibly could for my height. If you're 5'10", 5'8", you may not feel like you need a rise, so it's just personal preference at this point. Next up, we got handlebar grips. This is such an inexpensive way to add more comfort and grip to your bars. And while these grips aren't horrible, they are stock, and you know, for $9–10 bucks, you can get a really nice set of grips that will make a big difference. So those parts I've talked about so far, the handlebar, bar mount, foot pegs, and tires and grips, those are our first recommended upgrades. We'll probably build some packages in that parts page so you guys can save a discount by bundling products. So those things, in my opinion, will make the biggest difference to this bike, and where you don't have to spend a huge amount of money to add some comfort, grip, traction, and have more fun while you're out riding. But now let's talk about other compatibility for upgrades you may want to do in the future. So we test fit a bunch of things like I was saying. The first thing I want to talk about is brake rotors and wheels. So this fitment on the wheels front and back is the same as Talaria Sting or Talaria XXX. They have the same width hub, the same rotor bolt pattern, front and rear. So if you have a wheel set from a Talaria that you want to put on this, whether it be 1821 size, 1619 size, 1919, they will fit. There's just one thing you have to know. This sprocket, they actually use a 428 size chain instead of, like Talaria uses a 420, which is a little bit smaller. So with this sprocket will be directly compatible to move to your other Talaria wheel set. And it is important that you run the 428 size sprocket and you run a 428 size chain. So you will have to move this over to your other wheels, but the bolt pattern and size is the same. as well as I mentioned the rotor bolt pattern front and rear. Let's move on to suspension. So our rear shock is the same measurement top to bottom, and we have taken it off, test fit it, and you can put any aftermarket suspension that was designed for an Eride Pro, a Surron, or a Talaria, and it's the same size as a lot of these small e-motos. Again, we'll have those products in that Serpent specific parts page. Moving on to the front fork, it again is the same style and fitment, 200 millimeters of travel. So a lot of the aftermarket upgrade forks are going to fit, just super nice. Talking about our brakes, so far we're really impressed with the brakes. They do have probably the most power of any stock brake apart from the new Talaria MX5. They are very impressive nonetheless. And we did test what brake pads fit. So they are actually the same size brake pads as Talaria, Surron, Eride Pro, a lot of the stock bikes, and we have them on our website. We have an upgraded version and a stock version for you guys to check out when you wear your pads out. Continuing on with brakes, these brakes have the same mounting points on the fork and on the frame and on the handlebar as lots of aftermarket brakes. So again, if a brake was designed to fit on Talaria, Surron, it's gonna also fit on this bike. So we're running into a lot of parts from the aftermarket world that are already compatible with the Serpent, which is awesome to see because a lot of new bikes that come to the market are just different enough that a lot of the parts don't fit. So I love that if you purchase this bike, you do still have a lot of options for upgrades. So that's super exciting. Next up, let's move on to aftermarket parts that we know don't fit. So if we continue on some of the bigger things, battery. This is a different size battery compartment and slot, so we don't know of any aftermarket batteries that'll fit at this moment. Same with aftermarket controllers. This has different mounting system, different plugs, different internals. So while a company probably could make something adaptable that would work, at the moment we don't know of anything that is. Same with the skid plate. It's a totally different design than any other bike that we've seen. If we move on to these foot peg lower brackets, these look very similar to a lot of bikes. We actually didn't even test fit one of these because we know that the space right here is different compared to the other peg braces. So a lot of times when you buy these brackets, they come with a peg brace. This is a different width, so they wouldn't work unless somebody adapts it specific to this bike. Suspension linkages, while they look very similar to the Talaria Sting, similar design, they are different. So again, until a company says that they're directly compatible with this, they are not. If we move on to the headlight up here, we did take it off and check out the plug, and it is a different plug than any of the bikes we've seen. So again, once somebody makes a headlight or an adapter for this bike, that'll be exciting. I talked about in my previous video, the headlight is decent. It's cool during the day, it has the different modes, but at night it's hard to ride like an actual off-road trail ride with because the light is either really close or really far in the distance. You can't have both at the same time. You can still put the standard headlight mount underneath this direct mount stem and put a different light on. And if you're comfortable with wiring, like if you wanted to direct solder it or do a custom plug yourself, if you're handy, you can make something work. Again, we're super impressed with this bike and are excited to see what Throne comes out with in the future. Because this bike's already so well, it's really exciting to see what companies do on a second generation or third generation. Kind of like Talaria with the new MX5 that we're giving away, it's on its 4th generation now, and you can tell because everything is just so polished, and we're excited to see what Throne does in the future. All right guys, this video was quick and to the point, but we love making these videos about parts compatibility because we get so many comments and questions and emails of you guys asking what fits and what doesn't. So if you guys have any more questions, drop us a comment in this video. We're excited to hear what you guys think of the Serpent, and we're excited for future videos to come. Before I go, click that link in the video description to enter to win that Talaria MX5. You might just win. Thanks for watching. Catch you next video. See ya.